Welcome, designers. Welcome to an Affinity Design workflow video where today I'm going to kind of show you concepts of how to kind of go through and do sketches to kind of a finished piece, whether it's character design and development or logo design. It's kind of the same process. But this is not a how to draw this video. This is just more kind of conceptual stuff. So if you're new to Affinity and maybe you're in Illustrator, you're, an Adobe person and you're hearing a lot about Affinity, and you're kind of wondering what the big thing with Affinity is, I'll tell you right off the bat what it is that Affinity Designer lets you create both pixel and raster graphics within the same document without switching back and forth through. It's very simple, the workflow of starting from a sketch in Affinity Designer, going to like an inking, with vector, coloring it in, and then going back to brushes in the pixel persona and just kind of, giving it some extra little flair. So Illustrator, you can't do this at all. It doesn't have brushes. So, a lot of designers, I think it all happens, it all starts with a pencil and a piece of paper for the most part, even if you are working digitally. One of my things with Illustrator is when you go into Illustrator, either A, you're bringing in something else. So you're scanning a sketch that you did previously, or you're bringing in a realistic photo and you're doing a cartoon version. But even if it is your own drawing, usually the Illustrator process starts out with tracing something. Then, in Illustrator, there's no way to do this step. You would have to bounce it out to Photoshop, and not that you can't do it with Adobe products, but Affinity Designer makes these two steps very easy. Let me take everything and just put it in a group here, and let me make a new layer. That way I can kind of illustrate some of these points. So we have two different layers, and if you're new to Affinity Designer, I'm going to just kind of show you the basics here to kind of get you going. You have two different kind of layers. You have pixel layers, and then you have what's called a normal layer, which is vector. So you can't do vector on a pixel layer, and you can't do pixels on a vector layer. Okay. The way to do each of these is you just got to be on the right palette. Up here, we are currently on the draw persona, which is the vector persona palette. If we click here, what's going to happen is we're going to switch to the pixel persona palette and we'll get the pixel brushes. But we're still in the same app. Everything's still the same. We didn't really do anything new here. This can be done with Adobe, but it's kind of a pain bouncing out, opening the file in Photoshop, saving it back. But, it works, but I know, Illustrator can open PSDs and, Photoshop can open AI files, but Affinity makes this specific workflow very easy. And, this is what Affinity does that Illustrator can't do. And this is why you should possibly be looking into using Affinity over Illustrator. So we're on our pixel persona. I'm in the drawing brushes and, go to the brush here and, you can basically do your drawing here. So you can start out whatever you're drawing, you can start doing your sketches. And this works, just how you think it would. And this is how, everything starts, and you can just keep it all within the same app. On top of on top of this, you know, you got to remember too, you're in like a digital world here. So let's say I'm drawing like a little bat here or something, and I got the wings. You know, you got to remember, even though this is a very simple thing, you now have the power to, you know, say, oh, okay, I like that wing. Let's just copy that and paste it. And for some reason, it's taking a second. Oh, okay, wrong keys. Let's just do this. Oh, that was my fault. Okay. Get rid of that. And then we're just going to flip horizontally. But what I'm saying is, not only can you draw naturally, but you still have, the little tips and tricks that, that comes with working digitally. So, so this would be the first step, just sketching stuff out. And if it's a logo, whatever, it doesn't matter. This isn't a character design thing. This is just drawing in general, or designing in general. Okay, so let's get rid of this. I'm sorry, you know what? Let's not get rid of it. Let's just group this together. Okay, so this would be, even though that's pretty basic, I would actually say you would probably be using your whole, your whole thing here and doing multiple sketches, and then kind of going in and finding what you like. So, feel free to take up the whole canvas here. We're kind of working out of a corner here. So let's just kind of bring this guy here, and let's talk about step number 2 here. So now we have a normal layer, which we will call vector. Okay, so on the vector layer, we now have to go back to our draw persona. And now we are in the vector tool set with vector brushes. So there's 2 ways to go about this second step. You can use the vector brushes here. And let's pick this guy and let's, go ahead and just trace it out. Okay, and there we have, our wing in vector. Let's close this off. And yes, of course, we can, add a fill to it. And we can go in and, clean a lot of this up. When you're drawing flat out like that, you get a lot of boo-boos, a lot of just extra spots that don't need to be there. So this would be kind of step 2 if you want to draw it like that, or if you don't want to draw it, you can use the pen tool. And I use there's a couple modes. There's pen mode, which if you're coming from Illustrator, that's you're gonna. This is how Illustrator works: is you put the pen down, and then you kind of stretch it out. So, Affinity has what's called a smart mode, which is what I like to use, especially for this step where you've kind of already drawn something out. And this is going to let you just kind of click, and it's going to kind of like know what you're doing. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to kind of follow your path. And this step, this is something else. As far as I know, I don't think Illustrator has a pen tool like this that kind of follows. I got to check. They didn't last time I was using it, but it has been a little while since I switched away from Illustrator. So we can choose the same color here. And so you can see how this step starts to happen. Okay. We can go through, I can turn that off because you're going to have to see where the eyes are. So you can do a couple things. This isn't, there's it's pretty much all white here. This is more for show, kind of like, from here to here to here. As you're doing this step, these two steps are kind of simultaneous. Realistically, you are going to be adding color while you're, tracing it out and everything. So you can go in and either add a new layer, just hide this layer altogether, and go ahead and, draw the eyes out. We'll just fill the eyes with white or gray. Turn this back on, go to this layer, go back to our purple, and now you can see kind of how we're creating these steps. In Affinity, you can go through and you can do your lines, your line width and everything up here. And one other trick I want to show you is your pressure. Regardless if you drew it like with a Wacom tablet or you're, drawing with the pen tool, you can still apply pressure to it. And as you can see, the pressure is going to make the start and stop area. So like the thick part right here is down here. And as you can see, as I'm moving the line, it's moving that pressure around. So you can play with the pressure. Same copy and paste stuff. Whoops, wrong layer. Nope, looks like it already pasted. So then we can go through, transform, flip, and then you can kind of go through with this one and play with the pressure a little bit too if if it didn't turn out just right, if it looks a little weird. Okay, so basically, like I said, this is not a how to draw. This is just kind of a how to get from here to there. And of course, this looks really bad, but I want to keep this video really short and just kind of give you the basics of what we're doing. So that by this point, you would have your sketch layer. Oops. You would most likely have your sketch layer deleted by now. Let's just kind of come down here and let me just kind of show you the basics of this. So the next thing you're going to want to do is kind of shadow him in a little bit. You can, I just want to say this too. You can stop right here. There's a lot of really good designers that just go flat and it looks awesome. But because we're talking about Affinity Designer specifically, that's one of the big things is you could very easily now jump back to the pixel persona and go in and just shade them like you would with a brush in Photoshop. The way you do that, now I do want to show, I have done like more extensive videos on this. I did a BB-8 one where I kind of showed how to shade. So this is going to be a quick version. I do have other versions that show how to do this stuff. And I did like a Let's Draw BB-8, which is, more step by step. I didn't do the sketch step in it, but if you want more clarification on these two steps, kind of watch the BB-8 one. And then that last one will kind of show you what I'm going to do really quick here. So we want to make another pixel layer because we're using brushes and, we're back in the pixel. So if you make a pixel layer and then drag it into that layer, this layer will become the mask. So, as you draw, you're not going to draw outside the line. Okay, so we were in that. Let's go to textures. And all these textures are still, they should come with Affinity. I personally like this Grunge 7 one. It's got like a good... Actually, you know what? Let me do something real quick. Okay. Let's just go to assorted. And let's just pick, a flat brush. And let's drop the opacity down to 1. And we have black. I mean, you could do like a dark purple. You could do whatever. I'm just kind of showing you. So as you kind of paint through, you can go through and you can add shadows to this very easily. You can kind of come in, whoops. Come under the eye here. And just, you can add a lot of depth with these pixel brushes. Or you can go through and you can just add straight gradients, with on the vector. That's fine too. But this way is going to give you a really cool kind of mixed media look. And again, I'm just, really hacking it in here just to kind of show you. And of course, you can go and do the same things on the same layer with lights. So you can put in your highlights up at the top. And, you get the point. You get what I'm doing here. Like I said, workflow video, not really. And I am using a mouse right here, even though I do have a Wacom tablet. That would make it look nicer. So, and then let me show you, then we'll make another pixel layer, and we'll go back to what I said a second ago. We'll go to effects, and we'll go to that grunge, textures. And we'll go to that Grunge 7 that I like. And yeah, let's make it like a white. We'll do some like light grunge on it. And, drop the opacity, drop it down to 20. And as you can see, now we just got some nice texture on it. And let's go to some black texture because something's missing here. See how now I'm painting outside the lines here. Like I said, so this is a layer on its own. If you do really want to get in and just do one layer, I would still suggest, doing the different pieces separate instead of just making a layer and going through and, doing the wings and everything at the same time. I would recommend kind of doing each piece on its own. But once you have it, put it in there, and that's whatever you drop it into is going to mask it. And that's kind of the workflow that I think really works the best. And it's pretty much Affinity Designer exclusive. You're going to be spending a lot of extra time bouncing back between Photoshop and Illustrator if you want to do this workflow in Adobe. I will say, as far as Illustrator goes, it does have more features than Affinity has, but Affinity's catching up really quick. And I personally don't think there's only a very, very small amount of things that I think Affinity really needs before, there's just a very few things that I can't do in Affinity. And I really think that it's coming next update. We're on 1.5. I think 1.6 is really going to fix a lot of that. When it comes to the pixel persona side, I feel like I can draw good in it and everything, but I do feel Photoshop does have a little bit of an edge with the brushes. Some of them do feel kind of more natural. And I don't feel like I can retouch photos or anything in Affinity. And if you use both, I do think the brushes need a little bit of work. For example, with a Wacom tablet, you can't link, you currently can't assign the opacity to a pressure. You got to kind of go with the flow to the pressure, which it works and it's fine. You're going to be able to do, what you want to do, but Photoshop does have a smoother feel to it. However, like I said, man, we're in, Affinity 1.5, and Photoshop is, well, we all know it's a lot higher than that. I want to say it's probably at least about version 15 or 16 by now. And so I think Affinity's pretty much right there. If you're a designer, I definitely get into Affinity. It's $50, and that's it. Is where illustrators, well, let's say this: Photoshop you can get for $10 a month. Illustrator you can't. Illustrator you got to either pay the $20 a month to do a one program thing, or you got to do the $60 a month for everything. So I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are looking for alternatives. And if you're looking for an alternative to Illustrator, I would highly, highly recommend getting into Affinity Designer. Like I said, like I was showing, I got a lot of Affinity Designer tutorials on my page already. If you want to go ahead and follow me, I got more coming, and I'm going to be doing just some kind of general design stuff coming up too. So, thanks very much for checking this video out, and I'll see you guys next video.